Welcome back to my channel, everyone. 3 tips here, and what I've got here is a collection of stuff that Mrs. 3 Tips has been hunting over the last couple weeks. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through all this stuff, sort it all out, and then we're going to do a refining on the gold that's in this material. And as I do this, I'd like to talk about a couple of things here. Number one is I've had people try to ask questions about refining on my eBay messaging system, and as I pointed out before, I cannot answer questions about refining on my eBay messaging system. If you want to ask questions, make sure and ask those questions in the comment section of the videos on my channel. I try to read every comment and answer every question that is presented in the comment section of my videos. And I cannot answer questions that folks ask on the eBay site because eBay does not allow me to do that kind of stuff on their system. So if you have questions about refining, just go ahead and ask those questions on my comment section of my videos, and I will answer them. I finally got everything sorted out here so we can figure out exactly what it is that we have. I've got some 14K material in here. I've got 10K stuff in here. And I've got a ingot that we refined earlier, but it needs to be re-refined, so we're going to add this in this group. And then I've got some jeweler's scrap here. This probably, I'm going to count this as 12K gold, and because it's a mixture of 10K and 14K. So we'll count this as 12K. This will be 24, this will be 10, and this will be 14. Here's all the gold filled stuff that she found at recent sales. What I do is I just kind of put that all in here and store it in this bag. Just get it out of the way. Here's the silver pieces that she's found, and what we'll do is we'll use some of this silver now to inquart our gold. What we need to do is inquart this gold with some silver. By adding silver, then we can pull all the silver and the base metals out with nitric acid. If we tried to pull the silver and base metals out of this gold without adding silver to it first, nothing would happen. It would just sit there. So here's our 14K stuff. We've got 30.9 grams of 14K. Zero out the scale. Here's our 10K stuff. And we've got 18.8 grams of 10K. Here's our 12K stuff in this bag. It's a combination of 10 and 14. Zero the scale. I'm going to add this right on in. And you can see we've got 13.1 grams of 12K. And now what we'll do is add the 24K. So we've got 14 grams of 24K. Now what we need to do is add enough silver, 105.9 grams. But what we're going to do is 5 of these cups that are sterling silver should be the correct amount that we need. It's only 102.5, but that's close enough to inquart our gold. So now we'll take this out on the melt table and inquart our gold. I can hear what you're thinking. Why is he adding sterling silver to the gold if he's just going to take it right back out later on? And this is a refining technique called inquartation, where we're creating an alloy that is 25% pure gold and 75% silver and base metals. 1/4 gold, 3/4 silver and base metals. Then and only then will the next step be effective, because the nitric acid will be able to penetrate to the very core of each piece, and then we can pull the silver and base metals out. Here's our inquarted gold. Now that we've lowered the gold content down to around 25% or 6K in here, now we can use dilute nitric acid to pull all the silver and the base metals out of here. Now we'll cover this up, put it up on the heat, and start pulling the silver and the base metals out with hot dilute nitric acid boils. This first dilute nitric acid boil is complete. That blue liquid is going to be full of silver. So what we'll do is we'll pour off that blue liquid that contains lots of silver into my silver jar. My silver jar has pieces of sterling silver in it that will consume any leftover nitric acid that might be in that blue liquid that I'm pouring off. Distilled water. And now we'll follow that up with a little bit of nitric acid. This will be nitric acid boil number 2. This is our sixth, number 6, nitric acid boil. And we've got the solution looking real good now. If you look at it, there's no color in there, no blue color. And if we see a bunch of blue in there, that means we're still pulling copper. So the lack of blue color in there means all the copper's been pulled. And if we've got all the copper out of there, it's safe to conclude that the silver's been pulled out as well. Add a little bit more water and just give this a boil in plain water, distilled water. We're going to pour off this water boil now. We've got the gold cleaned up nicely. So now what we'll do, I'm going to set it up here on our hot plate. I've got some hydrochloric acid, and we're going to add hydrochloric acid to the gold now. And then I've got some sulfuric acid and nitric acid. I'll add a squirt of sulfuric acid to take care of any lead that might be in here. And then I'm going to add about 20 or 23 milliliters, 24 milliliters of nitric acid. And I'm going to do that while we do a time lapse with our special lighting. We've evaporated it down to a syrup. Let's get it down off the heat now. Now what we'll do is add some hydrochloric acid slowly because this is real hot. I don't see no fumes coming off of there. So I'm going to say it's safe to conclude that we've got all the excess nitric evaporated or driven off from our solution. There's hydrochloric acid here. We're going to add this to our gold solution. Let's add a few ice cubes to get this cooled off. Here's a look at what's in our filter. Some insoluble solids. Let's get this out of the way. Transfer our solution to our beaker. Here we go. We're going to do our first precipitation with some SMB. That should do it. Here's our pure gold. I've allowed it to settle overnight in this container. So now what we'll do is pour off this waste solution. Now what we'll do is transfer the gold into a bigger beaker. And I'll be using some hydrochloric acid for this in a squirt bottle. I've got some 29% hydrogen peroxide. What I'll do is measure out about 150 milliliters of this. I'm going to add a little bit more hydrochloric acid. to the gold. Now we'll cover this up, and what I'll do is add some heat. I'm going to add a small dose of sulfuric acid, just in case we've got any lead in here. Once this heats up, I'll start adding droppers of our hydrogen peroxide into our gold. I'm going to turn the light on, and we'll put this on time lapse and see if we can get this gold to go into solution using hydrogen peroxide and hydrochloric acid. I think we've got everything to dissolve. There might be a few tiny pieces left in there. I added another 80 milliliters of hydrochloric acid to the reaction and another 100 milliliters of hydrogen peroxide for a total of 250 milliliters of hydrogen peroxide to get all this gold to dissolve. Take it down, let it cool off now. Let's see if I can get our stir bar out of here. I'm adding ice to cool, dilute, and precipitate out any silver chloride that might be present. Here you can see the solution is crystal clear and bright. So now what we'll do is move this out of the way for the next evolution. I think we're ready to precipitate our gold using SO2 gas. Here's our solution. It's got about 1.5 ounces of pure gold in this solution. Now what we'll do is start an acid flow, sulfuric acid, down into our slurry of sodium metabisulfite. You can see back here, we now have some gas flowing from our gas generator. So what we'll do, I found that this precipitation happens best from a dilute solution. So I'm going to add distilled water to about the 2-liter level in our flask. All right, let's go ahead and stick our delivery tube in here and start our SO2 gas precipitation. Already starting to see a color change. Boom, there it went. It's only been in there about 30-40 seconds. Slow this gas flow down a little bit. Let me get in here, get a little bit of solution, a piece of filter paper. There's some suspended gold particles on there. But you can tell from that test that all the gold has been precipitated. Let's get our delivery tube out of here now. I've allowed this to settle. Now what we'll do is pour off this waste solution. Here's our gold. Gold precipitated with SO2 gas is usually very high purity gold, and since we didn't use the chemical in here, we used the gas. Shouldn't be a whole lot. It has to be rinsed off out of here. Got my Sunday go-to-meeting melt dish here, freshly glazed. So now let's see if we can get this gold down in this melt dish without too much trouble. let's take this over on the melt table and let us melt a little ingot out of this pure gold now. Oh yeah. Here's our pure gold bar. It looks fantastic. There's a little bit of bubbling that occurred, outgassing probably from the mold on the center there. Let's see, we were expecting what? I think it was 46.2 grams was the estimated yield. Let's see what we got for an actual yield here. 43.1, so we're off by a few grams, which is normal because we were estimating some of the material. This is just fine. 43 grams of high purity gold. And please remember, if you have questions about refining, ask them in the comments section and I will try to answer as best I can. You can't ask me questions about refining on my eBay messaging system. If you ask questions on that system, I'll have to delete them. All right, this will conclude the video. Thank you for watching.